Okay, we are live.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight, Mayor Fort is unable to be with us tonight and will be joining us on video. I will be chairing the meeting tonight, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. Can I ask Councillor Stefanik to read it for us tonight?
Thank you, Chair. The Council Corporation Township of Hornepayne would like to begin respectfully acknowledging that the land which we gather here today is Treaty 9, 1905-1906 territory. Traditional lands of indigenous peoples. As we work toward reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Review and note any changes to tonight's agenda. There are none. Approval of agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Peter, second by Belinda. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? Carried. 6.2 or open discussion is comprehensive user fees. And
We're starting 6.1.
6.1, sorry. Presentation 2026 draft municipal budget.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe I have the correct one up. Yeah. Does it end in February 2018?
Yeah.
It's the one you told me to open. I just know I believe I have the correct screen up. Okay, so
Good evening, everyone.
this screen is what?
So Cindy and I, for a couple months, have been working towards the municipal budget. We've had meetings with the fire department, with the public works manager, with all of the departments. We've reviewed what's required to fulfill capital obligations of the projects we've already started. And that is our biggest hindrance. And that is why we won't be prepared to fully pass a budget for the next couple of weeks, because we really need to have a conversation with council about how much money you want to spend and from where, how you want to fund things. So Cindy's going to go through what we've done so far and try to get some feedback from council, not necessarily tonight. Maybe you take it away for a week or 2 weeks, bring it back to the March 4th. We do have some options and maybe some strategies on how to remedy some things, but it's not a decision that should be made lightly or in a couple hours. We'd like council to be able to go back and take this back and think about it and come back to us. We did go through and do line by line and did those comparisons. We're not presenting a line by line budget. It's not what we want to present. We can put that together very quickly for council to review. Cindy can go through some of it tonight. She has it here, so she can definitely put it up on the screen and show you some of the things that we've done along the way, and I'm sure she will be doing that. So just saying that, giving the introduction of, sorry, it's not where we want it to be, but we do have some big challenges. This is a small community with a very high tax rate, and our goal is to not really to impact that tax rate as little, or to impact that tax rate as little as possible. There's 1,000 citizens to carry the burden of the things that we need to accomplish. And this is nothing new that I'm telling council. Council is aware, but I think the impact of some of the things that we've already done and some of the things we've started and what's left to spend on projects such as Third Ave is going to definitely impact this budget. And we need some direction on that, on the fitness center, on the library. I want to see the fitness center and library go forward, maybe not in the same way that we've been thinking about it till now, but I think it needs to move forward. So saying that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to let Cindy take over and go through the presentation. And I'm sure even going through these slides, she might stop in certain sections and open up some of the big workbooks that we've been, or spreadsheets that we've been using to come up with this budget, so council can see our thought process and the considerations that we gave. So Cindy, please go ahead.
Okay, so this is just a general information for when it comes to budgeting requirements. We do have some legislation we have to be mindful of and make sure we're following properly. The Municipal Act, of course, public sector accounting standards. Public sector accounting board is what presents the standards, and generally accepted accounting principles is a standard for accounting and recording of transactions that we do in the municipality to both buy and pay for certain all the activities that we do. We also have to consider the annual repayment limit, which is given to us after we've prepared our FIR, and that relates to the debt that we have in place. So we have to stay within the limit. Otherwise, we won't be allowed to borrow as much as we'd like. So with our budgeting and municipal policy, we've put together the surplus deficit policy, the reserve and reserve fund policy, and the multi-year budget policy. All of that will actually not the same as sorry. So those are some of the things that we've done up to now to get us to this point. I was expecting. So with the multi-year budgeting, just a reminder, we're only looking to adopt 2026. As in the past, you've done 1 year at a time. So the idea is to, excuse me, adopt only the 2026. The subsequent years are more of a review of anticipated costs and revenues. Again, it's more of a forecast at this stage, and we would review it again in the next year. So excuse me, 2027 to 2029 are really just forecasts at this stage. And keeping in mind, we will, especially in the future, adjust for the economics as things change over time. So for the budgeting process, just to give you an idea of the types of things that we've been looking at, some of the factors we've considered, excuse me, we've reviewed past year expenditures to identify trends. We are looking to provide informed decisions or ensuring, excuse me, a moment. We want to ensure that informed decisions are achieved by conducting a line-by-line review of the operating budget. So we've done that and done our best to ensure that we're looking at the numbers in the correct places. We are determining the impact of long-term debt, which we've, as Manuel has alluded to, there is a lot that we have to consider in terms of how we're going to fund everything that needs to get done or we want to get done. So as you mentioned, we've had conversations with the department heads to determine needs rather than wants. And the idea is to apply a lens to the future through a multi-year approach. Again, forecasting for the future, but some of the, for example, some of the capital items we put in the later years because they may be a need, but not necessarily this year. And we tried to spread them out some in order to be able to fund them in a more, excuse me, in a proper way, in a more feasible way. Okay, so in 2025, we did have some successes when it comes to what's been happening. We've implemented the long-term planning through the multi-year budget approach, rehabilitation of Third Ave, and that's going to continue into the next year, as you're aware, into 2026. There have been increased tax collection efforts, which has helped with the tax arrears. We acquired 19 Becker Road for moving the garage over. That's been completed. They're still in setting up a few things. There's a couple of things left to be done to, for example, garage door and the fencing, I believe, is something that was included on there as well. We applied for the pothole prevention funding, which we have included in here in the capital section to cover our hot box that is being purchased this year. and implemented the CIP, which you've all seen in 2025. Some of the budget pressures, the new long-term debt, to pay for some of the larger projects that have already started. The CN annual settlement payments, which will be ongoing through this 4-year period. It does end in 2029, but we do have to take care of it for the next few years. Increased bank charges. We do have fees for some of the changes to how taxpayers are paying their bills. One of them being through the website and being able to pay it that way. So some of those fees haven't been in prior budgets, but now we're seeing the cost related to those. Unpredictable assessment growth. That's standard across the world, I would say, but definitely in smaller communities, it can be very hard to judge what it might be. Reserve deficit was identified in last year's financial statement, so we have to factor that into our calculations in the sense of, if we're trying to pay something from reserves, we have to know what we're working with. And the unexpected legal fees that have gone on. We don't have a lot of control over some of those types of fees.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to speak to some of these. So I'm going to start with the long-term debt. Pardon me, historically, we haven't planned, I'm going to start coughing, for the principal repayment of long-term debt through the operating budget. I've not seen that before. So I've seen some, but then when you take into consideration our portion of projects and you lump that in with a debt payment, there's not enough money to meet both there. So by not having accounted for the long-term debt, like when people do budgets, they think revenues, expenses, and long-term debt belongs on a balance sheet because it's reducing your principal. That is the general accounting standard for the treatment of those types of transactions. A municipality raises their money through taxation, through grants, through the OMPF can be used for operating, and through some user fees. Those are the fees that have to pay for this long-term debt. So if you don't plan for it in your budget, most likely eating up your reserves. Or whatever little cash flow you have at the end of the year. It's definitely affecting that surplus. It's not going to show up as an expense because it's not truly an expense, but it is a cash flow that has to be raised. We're uncertain of how that was dealt with in the past. So we're still investigating that. We're still exploring to try to discover, is that part of the reserve deficit? Is that what contributed to the reserve deficit? What is a reserve deficit? A reserve deficit is when you say you have $2 million in reserve, but you have $500,000 in the bank account. That $1,500 difference would be the reserve deficit. We have, it was identified by the auditors, a reserve deficit. We don't have in the bank the actual reserves that we say we have in our audited financial statement.
How much of a deficit are we talking?
It was over, I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at the 2024 statements to give you a number, but I know it was over $1 million. So that's part of the challenge of how do we, that's why the hesitation on this budget, because how do we pay for things going forward? How do we pay for Third Ave? So far, we've borrowed $2.5 million in revolving credit for Third Ave. We have 800,000 coming in still in that we're collecting, so that'll bring it down. But we have to spend another $2 million this year. Cindy will give you those numbers a little later. So those are concerns. This was our hesitation. This is where we want to have discussions with council. And then there's little things like increased bank charges. We're getting now charged for premium credit cards. So people are using credit cards to pay their taxes. We're paying over $10,000 in fees a year. My suggestion, I mean, we looked at the user fees. Let's charge a premium for using cards. So if you want to pay your taxes with a credit card, no problem. Go ahead, 2%. Like, or 3%, or if it's American Express, 7 or 8. Like, there's a reason why a lot of companies pay a premium for Hydro One does it, Algoma Power does it. You want to use your credit card? Here's a premium. It can just be added right onto the website. It doesn't come to us. It goes straight to the credit card company. and it reduces that expense for us. That's one little thing to think about, but if we can find 5 little things, it helps, right? The reserve deficit I talked about, and unprecedented legal fees. We've just had a large amount of legal fees this year, which we're hoping won't continue into the future. But again, they're for items that we have no control over. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about that. That CN annual settlement, that's a $50,000 payment every year. So that's added to our budget as well, 50,000. It's probably equivalent to at least 1% of the 1% tax increase, at least. So, yeah,
Can I ask what that is? I'm not
that's
familiar.
those arms across the tracks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's our portion of the cost of replacing those or maintaining those. And
And that's just our portion of it?
Yep.
Not the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
so you're welcome. So sorry, I just wanted to touch on some of those things so that council could have a better understanding of where we're coming from and why things are gonna look the way they do when we start getting into the numbers. Okay, so I'll let Cindy continue.
Okay, so if we look at some of our calculations for the operating budget. This is, yes, I'll figure that out. I'm not used to seeing it on screen. Okay, so this is the administration portion of the budget, which, as you can see, includes council section, economic development, planning, Service Ontario, education, and external boards. Excuse me. So what we've got in here is estimated levy increase from 2025 to 2026. We put in a 3.5%. That's slightly
More than 3%.
well, that's what we started at when we were calculating this. So we wanted to try and see what kind of levy increase was going to help us get to a balance point. Excuse me. So we started with a 3.5%. It's only slightly higher than your last year increase was 3.36%, I believe. So it's only slightly higher than that. But also what we've included on the taxation line, for example, are some of the capital items that we did not maybe have enough reserves to pay for. So we've had to increase the taxation levy a bit to cover some of those costs, which I'll show you a little bit.
84,000.
It was different in each of the 4
Yeah.
years, but we could get more specific if needed. We've also included 70,000. Oh, it's in the detail. So these are the summary of each section. So it more in the detail, we have a transfer from reserves from the rate stabilization reserve in order to not have to increase taxes any higher. We wanted to use at least a portion of the reserve that's there to keep that, hopefully keep the reserve, keep the levy increase down. Now, again, the 3.5 is just our starting point for this. It may go up, we may be able to reduce it depending on what else we see. But because I had included some of the capital items in here as well, it might be a little bit higher.
Did you want to open up the admin and just show council some of the types of calculations that we?
How do I open it in here without messing up with this?
I would have to change what we're sharing and open something else.
Can you not just share it on the screen?
No, I have it sharing this specific application
Okay, how would we do that?
Stop sharing, I guess.
here.
Oh, yeah, let you do it.
So there is a lot of detail, a lot of line by line detail, and if any of council is interested in that, we can definitely supply it very easily through an email, or in a hard copy would be a lot of pages, but we could do it. PDF in an email. I know some people prefer hard, so we could do that as well, but there are going to be changes as we have discussions and make decisions about how we want to move forward with some things. So, but if you want to review the line by line, at least in the operating, because those things won't really change.
You're good with just this being.
Can't quite see it.
Well, I'm just, this
Yeah.
is the document. Okay, I have to share it still. I just want to make sure.
Could she flip between pages in there?
Should be able to, yeah. So I'm actually going to go in really quick and change this to no agenda so that it's easier for the stream to be able to see the numbers.
Oh, you can't really see them, they're small, but.
It's also not, the titles aren't locked.
You could probably view it in full screen. Whatever you.
Are you trying to make it bigger?
Well, I was trying to get to the top first, I just couldn't see the title.
You can do freeze top and do it freeze top.
I have a delay, I'm not used to using this computer. Timeline. Start, and you're seeing the full screen here.
No, I'm not sure if you can, I don't use Excel, so I don't know if you can full screen Excel. Or
That
even
is it.
your environments.
Looks like that. All right, okay, so as you can see, top of the screen, it does show you the column titles where we've taken information all the way back to 2023. That was mostly just for information purposes. It wasn't necessarily helping us make any decisions on what to plug into the other numbers. But from 2025 on, we've put the 2025 actuals as well. And then from 2026 to 2029 is just the budget numbers there. So we've got those numbers in there. Excuse me. So I'm trying to.
So council is interested in us sharing these documents with you. There's one for admin, which covers the administration, the taxation, economic development and planning, Service Ontario, education, external boards, the library.
Pages.
Yeah, so there's a tab for each one of those areas.
This is probably the better page to show you.
Yeah, Public Works also has, Public Works has a similar spreadsheet where it breaks down the equipment, Public Works, capital, I'm just going from memory here. The Protective Services has fire, emergency services, policing, bylaw, chief building official. So we can definitely provide you with all of this detail. Capital is also in the Public Works one, Public Works one. And so council just has to give us direction if you want this detail now to look over or not. After tonight's meeting, we can definitely do that. Cindy, did you want to speak to any of the specific areas in here?
I mean, there were a couple of things we noted as we were going along. For example, the penalties and interest for taxes. We budgeted 80,000 here due to greater collection efforts. So it does bring the overall revenue down, but we do prefer not having, penalty and interest charged to the taxpayers. So if we can reduce,
Budget.
yeah, if we can make that better, that's a good thing. Some of the larger funders like ONPF are fairly static. Wages are based on, the wage grids and inflationary pressures on those. I'm not sure if there's anything specific you might have any questions on at this point, because we're not really showing you a lot of the detail, but this gives you an idea of the types of things that we're looking at. So we do have a variety of things in administration. What's going on? That's going on, right? So if we want to look at maybe a couple more, like the council, for example, it's fairly straightforward given minimal accounts overall. You don't, have a ton in there. Economic, Service Ontario is one that, as you know, we've got some funding covered by, the Service Ontario. The ministry that handles Service
Yeah.
Ontario, Ministry of Transportation, I believe it is. It's not-
You can see the net is only $199 for Service Ontario, so there's very little impact.
Yeah.
To us for having that there.
So that gives you the general idea of the types of things we're looking at. Basing it off last year's budget, last year's actuals, and moving forward with the information that we have at the moment. Want to open up possibly one of the other ones, we could do that when we get to it, I guess.
You guys just tell me, do you wanna go back to the presentation now?
Yeah.
Think so. Oh,
Still showing on that station.
no, it's not, but we somehow exited the.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
That's okay.
Have to log back into.
No, it's just, we've lost presenter view. On this one.
Okay. You want me to get back in? Okay. Alright, so if we, I guess we can move on to the next slide, which is Public Works. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Public Works, again, we've got the same format, looking at prior years and extending it out for 3. The CN settlement, that's 50,000?
Yep.
Okay, so the CN settlement, yes, is on until 2029, so again, the 4 years that's left. And long-term debt on Third Avenue is one that we're seeing in here as some of the $1 million in Public Works Department. We've got, I believe, most of it there. About that one at this point. Public Works, as you can see on screen, includes airport, landfill, cemetery, recreation, and the long-term liability on this would be the 193 would be the interest payments in 2026 for the long-term debt that we already have in place, and I believe the one for the one that's coming. That's in the protective services, we've got fire, emergency management, police, bylaw enforcement, and building department. I think Police, of course, would be buying the police services. Fire, as you know, is fire department, emergency management. Not what I was expecting, cause I was looking at the capital budget today, sorry, this is on the operating side. And the building department, of course, would be purchasing services from, Wawa. The revenue is coming from your building, like, building fees, building permit fees. So. Excuse me. Non-tax supported would, of course, be water and wastewater. Similarly, we've done this summary sheet that includes both water and wastewater together, as well as the capital. In this case, we have some information from Aqua for the capital. So we would have included those there, as well as the portions of Third Avenue. What's coming up in 2026, there are sections to finish, both from the water wastewater perspective as well as the road. So that the road section would have been included in the public works portion. And in this case, the principal portion of debt is to be paid through user fees. So this would show a draft capital. We know there's more to be filled in. But these are the ones where we have talked about what's needed. Sorry for the blank lines. I didn't have time to let's say, get rid of those. So that's a factor. What we're looking at here, majority of our costs, see those numbers very well. The top section is for things that are from previous years, so that includes the pavilion washrooms, which were already agreed to be done. Third Ave, that's what's left to complete, 2.4 million. Landfill expansion, we're actually still waiting on some numbers on that one. Fitness center, those are based off of the latest estimates from the contract engineer, sorry, for the design, what he anticipates it will cost. These couple things for 19 Becker Road, the garage door and the furnace have to get done, or are in the process of getting done. We've got a few in the recommended projects. The hot box is included here. So we're getting a $38,000 grant for that. That's the pothole repair grant. And the rest we've indicated to come out of taxation as of right now. We've got a couple projects in later years we've put in here just as a potential project. Again, we're forecasting for the future. Push the loader out to a later time just due to funding opportunities currently are somewhat limited. Fitness equipment had been agreed upon, or at least we're knowing that some of it needed to be replaced, so we're put that there. For the emergency control center, for the electronic sign and a few other things, we did get a grant, 50,000 for that, so we'll be moving ahead with some of those things.
So we still need money for a fire truck.
Should see, I didn't have anything.
Yep. We need to have a conversation this evening about the fitness center and the arena. I think maybe it would be a good idea to go through the long-term debt. Right now, our current long-term debt and what we're paying, and what some of the new long-term debt will look like. I think council needs to be aware of those things.
In the detail sheet.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get back into the other sheets.
So here's an example of some of the things that we're facing. 4.2 million for the fitness center and library. There's 65 users for the fitness center. So that's over 30 years, assuming that building would last 30 years, that's 64,000 per user, just for the payback. So that would be a fitness membership of $2,100 a year. I don't think anybody wants to pay that. And then that doesn't keep the lights on, it doesn't pay for the heat, it doesn't pay for any equipment, it doesn't, so like, we definitely can't go to user fee. There's just not enough population here to warrant that, right? 65 users. Even, I realize that's half the square footage, so even at 32,000 per user, that's a lot of money.
What's the library cost?
The other 32,000 per, I don't know how many people, how much circulation is in the library, sorry, I didn't get that number, but it's about 2,000, well, it's a little under 2,000 square feet each, because there's some additions to the canteen and washrooms that would be used by both sides, right? We did look at some options, I don't know if Cindy got to those slides, some things to consider. Do you want me to go ahead and talk about
That's the
them?
next, yeah.
Do you want me to talk about them now?
Sure.
So I reached out and talked to a company about the possibility of a modular fitness center, a modular recreation center. So JL Richards are telling us firmly to build this addition to the arena is $1,050 per square foot in construction costs. $1,050 per square foot. So the company I spoke to today said their average cost is $300 to $350. Plus we have to pour the foundation. So, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Number one, it was brought up in the past about if we don't go through with it, we lose an awful lot of money. So with the
Did you have
modular,
those numbers?
okay, good. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was my main thing. It was just, I don't want to lose or end up paying for something that we don't have.
So, because we were trying to brainstorm, like, what are some other ideas? We came up with obviously more questions as we were brainstorming that. So some of our questions were, will the grant cover a modular? Maybe it will, or maybe we have to pay back the grant. I don't know. Part of the engineering costs would have been for a pad to build things on. So part of the engineering costs might be okay. I'd like to have a conversation with JL Richards if council so wishes, to see, is it an option to even consider that? They keep telling us this is an add-on to our building. It's a standalone. It's not part of the current arena, but a standalone building. So if it's a standalone building, maybe it can be a modular on a pad. But that's conversation we have to have with JL Richards, also with Infrastructure Ontario and the funding agents, to see if we can still use this funding towards that. So we would still use the same drawings. So we paid X number of dollars for the drawings so far. If the funding agent said, yes, this would be an acceptable building, then I believe that we would not be losing anything, because the only thing we paid for so far are the drawings.
And get the extension at 30 cents on the dollar, which is a no-brainer.
So,
We've done
yeah,
that.
and the roof that needed to be done to add to it. So, so I would like council's permission to explore this further and maybe come back with an option, or at least a yes, we can do it and this is an option, or no, we're not allowed to do it at all.
I'm over it.
There are some pictures later in the presentation of some other buildings this company has built, and they're modular. They build them up wherever they are and they bring them here. So they're quite nice. I'd like to show council. I'm gonna because I think $1 million or $1.2 million as opposed to 4.2 million is a lot better, especially if we can already use the drawings and not have to pay back that funding. So I'd really like to come back with some answers rather than speculation, but I just wanted council to hopefully feel encouraged that we respect how much this is costing. We respect how much it ties up future years and future councils if we keep going the way that we're going right now. So I would really strongly ask council to please give us the opportunity to try to find some cheaper, less expensive streams that will achieve the results that people want, that will provide a nice, new, clean, accessible, and affordable rec center, and the same with the library. So clean, new, affordable, accessible, that's sustainable over time at a lower rate. to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
So that's one consideration. Just as information for council, I'd like Cindy to go through the long-term debt and how it affects us. Because it wasn't always accounted for this way, and it does impact our budget.
May I ask one more question?
Yes,
To you, Mr. Chair.
sorry.
The Third Ave loan, just, I don't wanna bounce around, but it's saying 1.5 million paid portion through taxation. I thought we only had about 470 thousand paid for that because we had the, OCIF.
OCIF?
Yes. I forgot the acronym, sorry.
Cindy will speak to that. She knows those numbers a lot better than I do, so I'm gonna let her speak to that.
Okay, in the situation of that Third Avenue, the 1.5 million, that was cash flow. We were trying to be able to pay for some of the payments before we were able to apply for the grant money, because they don't send it to us ahead
Gotcha.
with these ICIP grants. So we have to spend the money first, and then they'll reimburse us the portion.
Okay, so it's still gonna be what, under the $500,000 mark or whatever by the time we're done.
Not likely.
In this case, what we're seeing on the screen here is just the interest that we're paying on that 1.5 million we borrowed in order to pay down. We are getting about 800, a little under 900,000 back from the last claim that we did. We don't have that money in yet. We could potentially use it to pay down this 1.5 million, which will help us, in terms of interest. And if we look on the next tab, it is the actual
Principal portion.
this is how'd you do that again? No. That's interesting. So the principal portion, as you can see, is 37.5 each year. I considered for Third Ave in particular, we may or may not have to start paying any of the principal back yet, but if we're able to pay it off based off new money coming in from the grant claim, the last grant claim, we may be able to save on this type of payment as well as the interest going forward. For the other,
So, because, sorry, can I just interject here? Because, so we, as council knows, we just received our roll-off truck. That truck was just over 400,000. You'll notice on these payments, there's a line that says roll-off truck. It's both in the interest and in the principal portion. What we've done, you can't use a grant for any rolling stock, so a grant will not pay for this truck. You can use OCIF grant to pay loans for core infrastructure. A truck is not core infrastructure. So we can't use that OCIF money for this. So we have to come up with the money. I don't want to put 400,000, like, I don't want to pull 400,000 out of the reserves and not replace it, especially since we're in the deficit. So, if we can, we're still investigating this as well, but a consideration is to take that 400,000 out of the reserves as a loan internally. We've talked about this before at 2.5%. I don't know any bank that's going to lend you 400,000 at 2.5% per vehicle today. So I think probably it's prudent from that angle. So what we would do is make a payment. I think it's about $3,800 or $3,900 a month from our operating account. So from our everyday operating account that we pay our bills from into our investment account where the reserves sit. So it's a way of replenishing about 450,000 of our reserves and paying off the truck internally. So we collect the interest at 2.5%. That reserve money, that 400,000, instead of earning nothing because it's a deficit, is replenishing the deficit and earning an interest. So it's something that we're looking at. Can we put it in the budget that way because we're quite hopeful that we can do it. It's a consideration that we're asking council, is this something you'd like us to consider doing? So it is, we've already accounted for it here. It's a lot less than if we have to finance it any other way.
so this gives you an idea of the long-term debt that's already in place. That's aside from the roll-off truck, which is it's still to be, but a couple of them are finished in 2026. So the rolling stock that was in the past, borrowed for, though that's ending in 2026 as well as the Sierra. And then you can see there's zero beyond that. The others are for newer ones that are gonna go beyond, they are at different, number of years or months. Definitely, they're going on for at least the next 4, some longer than that. And, what's the other one I was gonna mention? Because that covers all these.
So there is also a line here for fire truck, and there's nothing there because we don't know how we're gonna fund the fire truck. What we have done in the fire department budget is there's a new line item for when the fire department goes out on calls on the highway. We had no idea how to budget how much money that's going to bring in. It could be $20,000 a call, I believe, depending on where and how and what the response is. We could get 1 call, we could get 0 calls, we could get 10 calls. There's no way to budget for that. So what we did do was we budgeted $30,000 worth of revenue, and we budgeted a transfer to reserve of $30,000 with the idea that any money raised through that would transfer immediately to a reserve for a fire truck. So, and physically, like we bill the MTO 20,000, we received 20,000, we put it in a GIC, $20,000 for that fire truck. It's a net effect to the budget, but it is a way to save money for a fire truck.
As it should, money stay in the fire department.
In the fire department, in an actual physical reserve, not just on paper, but make sure that it's transferred from the general bank account into a reserve account. That's an investment account that doesn't get touched until it's time to buy that truck. So that was a strategy that we also incorporated in this budget. So it has zero effect on that budget. It's money in, money out into a savings account. So it's just transferring money from the income statement to the balance sheet for future spending without affecting taxation. Because you don't want to put that you're going to earn 30,000 and you have no calls and you earn nothing, and now you're scrambling to find that 30,000 somewhere else. So
If we only get 10, we'll put 10 in the reserve.
Yeah.
yeah. And if we get 50, we'll put 50.
Okay, so this covers the principal of the long-term debt. The tab I was on previously, this is the interest portion of it, which we do have to cover as well. I think we already talked about these as well, for the most part. Okay, I think that's all we were looking at here was the long-term debts. Okay, so these are, as Mendel was already talking about, some options for the arena. We've talked about the dollars already. $250 per square foot versus $1,050 per square foot. Makes a difference. And those are examples of the actual buildings.
Yep, so
Sorry.
these are buildings,
Okay.
these are modular buildings that were built in different communities. I didn't want to name the communities. I didn't have permission to do that, but the company did send me these pictures. These are recent builds that they've done for different things, so.
All right, so some of the capital considerations we've been looking at and have to factor into the whole calculation. We want to use the OCIF funding to pay down debt when we can. It's limited to core infrastructure, which that's an OCIF requirement. It's roads, water, wastewater, stormwater, bridges and culverts. That's all they will cover. For the most part, they won't cover a project that does not fit their criteria. Excuse me. Using, I guess what the slide is saying, sorry, it does decrease available funding for future years if we use it now or in the next couple of years to pay down the debt that we have to take care of. So that does limit, it is pretty, sorry, the OCF funding is a pretty good amount, although I have to say I've included on the, because of the Third Ave project has water and roads. There is a good chunk of the OCIF current reserve that we're gonna use for that if all goes, as currently in the budget. Partly because we don't wanna be increasing taxation related to that project. We have used, in the last year, the various grants, we've had the NORDS grant, we've had the ICIP, which is infrastructure, Canada Infrastructure Program. I forget the first time. But we've had the grants, we've had the NORDS grant, we've had the OCIF funding that's been used to pay for the Third Ave to the best that we can. So the drawback, of course, if we do also try and use that same funding to pay down the debt, it does limit it. And the question is, how will payment obligations be met should the funding program end? We don't have any indication right now that OCIF will be ending, but we do know they've been looking at it. As of the last couple of years, they've changed how they do the calculations. We've lost a little bit in the last year due to, again, how they've done the calculations based on our asset base. And the potential is it could go down, it could go away. But we're, as of right now, including it because we've not heard otherwise.
Cindy, sorry, I got a question. At OCIF funding, you said they changed the way they accounted it for, and it has to do with the assets we have.
Yes.
So if we build our assets, like make a new building or something, that would benefit us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
even a project like Third Ave, that will
Yeah.
increase our asset base cost because we'll include that in the assets. Not in 25 because it's not finished yet, but those bigger projects do result in more assets, more cost base. They're looking at current replacement value on a new project. It's essentially the same as the cost of the project because the replacement values are all based on present cost. So yes, that will increase our asset base, which will hopefully give us an increase on the funding. However, cautionary, when they did the switch, I was at a roll in Wawa and I'd done some of the reporting for the 4 communities I was working with, including Hornepayne, and all of the calculations that the ministry had done based off of the FIR information versus what we put in for current replacement values, it was a pretty drastic difference. They were basing it off of net book value. So if you know accounting, that's what's left of what you haven't already drawn down on your assets.
Amortized.
Yeah, amortized, but not everybody knows what that means. So anyway, yeah, they base it on the net book value, not so much on the replacement value. So that's why they made the switch. The problem to that is that the numbers they were initially basing it on were, I looked through their calculation, it was very convoluted the way they'd done it, but they also had a very high number for it. You'd think basing it off net book value would be less, but unfortunately, the way they did it, with the new current replacement values, I have to go with what's real. When I fill out those types of reports, I can't inflate it. It's got to be based on what the assets are. To the best that we can get the replacement values. Sometimes that is not always right either, because you may not be replacing it for 50 years, depending what it is. So sometimes it's based on historical costs and we just inflate it. So, we're trying to do our best to make those calculations better, but certainly adding new assets to the listing will increase the overall replacement value, which will help the whole calculation. So that being said, we are hoping that there won't be any more decreases and that they will not end the program. I feel from what I've read, there were discussions about it, but I think they're realizing how important it is to communities, especially small communities. So they did increase it a few years ago and it stayed at that level aside from a slight decrease last year. So hopefully they will keep the program.
I think what we'd like to do is come back with some options for council, maybe a combination of things. Maybe looking at how we can build differently, how we can fund differently, maybe combination of funding. So something like Third Ave, we might be able to use some OCIF funding, but not all. So if we limited to, I don't know, 50 or 60,000 of OCIF and then the remainder internally to pay back the monies that are owing, to Infrastructure Ontario, that's one option, right? But it would be good to come back with some different numbers if we can do that, if we can do it at all.
Yeah, if we can.
If we can do it at all.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of project.
Okay, some of the capital considerations, issuance of internal debenture to fund rolling stock, as already mentioned. Decrease available reserves in the short term. That's essentially what we're looking at, in order to not have to raise taxation to do some of these projects even further. So we're doing the best we can to do a balance on there where we deplete the reserve some and, maybe increase taxation a little bit to cover some of the capital. We'll have to have that discussion when we can finish our calculations on those types of options. Lower interest rate than traditional lending while earning slightly higher than bank investment income. So that's one of the advantages of using the internal debenture. And low reserve balance to work with. As we know, there's a deficit, so we are working with the information that we do have and continuing to investigate what we can. So the implementation and next steps, the review period was indicated to end on March 11th with an open discussion at your March 4th council meeting with any questions. Obviously, we still have to have some discussions before we can give a better, more robust, let's say, draft budget. Again, once we've had some of the discussions, with the potential to adopt on March 18th. That's what we would like to do.
I think it would be more reasonable to move that adoption date into April. Because I think there's some big decisions to be made.
And we do have a little bit of investigating
Yeah.
to do to find out what the options are.
So,
especially for funding the bigger projects.
so I think that's it for us. If council would like to do a roundtable of questions or direction or comments. And let us know if you want that detail of the operation budget, the line by line, I'm happy to send it to you. Just reach out to me.
Well, I would like a copy of that.
Okay.
So do I.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Everyone.
Looks like Mayor Ford has her hand up.
Yes.
Mayor Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple of questions. This presentation, it'll be uploaded to our agenda package for the residents to be able to submit their questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. I would like a detailed copy as well. Are we emailing those out? I'll take an email copy.
I will definitely try to email them. I might have to compress them to do it, but yeah.
Okay, whatever's easier. I think it's important if we have to use some paper, then that's fine as well.
Yep.
Just a question as well. We didn't, it said for the water rates, there wasn't a percentage increase. And from the collections we did last year to this year, there's a significant difference. Do we have a percentage that we're looking at right now?
They're asking about the percentage on the water rates, but it's
Okay, I didn't do the calculation for this portion.
it's still dependent on how we treat the payback.
Okay,
So if we're gonna fund some of the debt payments through the user fees, that's going to impact it. So it's part of council's decision will drive where that rate will fall. So perhaps it's good to maybe come up with some scenarios at the next meeting of how it will affect the rates, how those decisions will affect the rates.
Okay, thank you for that. And one final question, Mr. Chair. For our long-term debt, could we have the amount, I just quickly during the presentation, I was figuring out for the rolling stock that we possibly may just continue to replenish the reserve instead of getting a loan for that. I'm thinking it was calculated out to 12 years.
10 years.
10 years? Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, if we could just include with the information just how long that debt is or when it's done.
For each of the ones?
Yeah, I think I know most of them. It's just because, and also just to clarify, when we see the debt of the CIBC, it says ball field, and then we have the SCABA equipment for the fire department, and there was something else rolled in there. There was some.
The auto extraction, there was a $57,000.
Oh, it was auto
bonus.
extraction. So those are the three things in those two items, right?
No,
No, okay.
it's, those are the
Okay.
two loans, actually the auto extract, did not get purchased, I believe. They did, okay. Sorry, I think I may have missed it on the line there.
We did get some funding for it.
Okay, so that is a separate loan then?
Yes, they came 3 separate loans, so I would have to, show that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I did look back quickly from when I signed the loan documents and I saw the original, but I thought maybe we had put them together. But thanks for the clarification, Cindy. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Drago, you had a
Yeah,
question?
to Chair, to the CFO and the CEO. Also, same time you send that information out, I'd like to know the precise numbers, the tax arrears and also arrears for water and sewer. Precise, accurate, as accurate you can get it as of last month or whatever it is. That's also a crucial part of the whole puzzle here. We've been notorious in the last 42 years that people did not pay taxes, and we end up in this situation here again, as we did last year, year before.
So I can speak to that. When we did the presentation, you can see even interest and penalties on taxes were approximately $30,000 less in 2025 than they were in the previous, than they were budgeted for. So we dropped that budget by $30,000. My belief is that is the case because we invoked very vigorous collection policies. So we wrote a new tax collection policy. We sent letters saying to people in 1 year of arrear, which will go out again fairly soon, saying, please call us, make a payment arrangement, or you're going to a collection agency. That does affect people's borrowing powers, their ability to borrow their mortgages. Anybody in 2 years plus got a letter saying, call us, pay off your taxes, or make a payment arrangement that you need to stick to, or you're going to tax sale. So people did really come in and pay off a lot of taxes at that point. So they realized that this is serious. We are following policy. We are doing what we need to do, and we're going to continue to do that aggressively.
Is there only 3 years or no?
No, it changed quite a few years ago to 2 years. So 2 years in arrear, you're eligible for tax.
What I'm saying, is there anybody that's 3 years behind or more?
Oh, if they are, they've probably been sent to tax sale at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's getting better then.
It's getting there.
Good.
Or
So-
they may have a payment.
Or they may have a payment. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions? Me, so do you want to carry on or?
The next, yep.
That was all I had for tonight.
Okay, so we can move on to section 6.2. That is tonight's open discussion, and as of tonight, no one signed up to speak at tonight's to speak at tonight's meeting. So we'll move.
Okay, the mayor had a question.
Oh, sorry, Mayor. Please. You had a
Sorry,
question?
Mr. Chair. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I just will ask for advice of our staff on what type of procedure or how we should proceed with investigating the use of reserves, or will we look at that into the future of past reserves?
You wanna talk to that now? Yes, I do have the detail of the entries that were posted to those accounts in the system. Not so much the bank accounts, but certainly the, reserve general ledgers. So we have some historical information. The, part that we'll need to look into is where the money came from or went when it came to, say, using a reserve. Because it's all a factor how best to explain this. But we can certainly look into the differences and where the deficit is coming from. We believe we know, but we haven't done the full investigation on that.
Okay, if Mr. Chair, if I could just have a follow-up to that question. With that, will we bring a policy forward that would protect us from that happening again in the future, or do our current policies protect us from that?
The budget itself should be a policy. So for example, once you receive your federal gas tax money, you would record the receipt of it as a revenue, and then you transfer it into a reserve until you need it. So how we've historically done it is we record the federal gas tax or the Canadian Accountability Fund as a revenue coming into the municipality, immediately transfer it into a reserve. So when we get that money, just following the budget, our immediate action should be to take that money and physically transfer it into a reserve account. And then when we go to use it, whether it's within the same year or in a subsequent year, then we transfer it out of the reserve and use the money. So both on paper and in practice.
Okay, and then from council's perspective, we'll get updates on that when. I'm just concerned that in 2024, we got an update when our audit came about several, and that's way, yeah, I'm just not sure. I just want to ensure that we have something, and I leave it to you, both of you to decide.
Would council be comfortable with a semi-annual update on the reserves?
Yeah,
Okay.
fine.
Okay, and we're gonna put that in some sort of policy eventually?
I will look at the reserve fund policy. It may have something in it. I
Okay.
don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, it may be covered. I'm not sure. Thank you for that.
It should be reviewed with the new council. It should be reviewed in the first term of the new council, so it's definitely could be an addition.
I feel as if the reserve policy did not necessarily specify a physical transfer of the dollars into a new bank account. So maybe that needs to be an addition if it's not already. I don't recall specific. So,
Thank you, and thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kistemaker, you have a question?
I was just wondering, how far do you have to go back on this?
There's a point where it's not feasible.
Okay.
There's a point where the work is not, like,
Okay.
hopefully not too far. Hopefully we can find the pattern and.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, there being none, we can move on to 6.2 now. Open discussion. And like I said, no one signed up to speak at tonight's meeting, so if we can go through the draft.
I did receive a comment today.
Oh.
Sorry, late in the day. Actually from our fire chief, and I thought it was a good comment. Either a bylaw or some kind of a fine for anybody that parks in front of the fire hall. So if we had a fire or an emergency that we had to attend to, and there was a vehicle or a transport blocking the path of the fire truck to come out or the emergency vehicle to come out, that's a risk to life and property, right? And I think, Chief Wallingford said there's a small fine, but maybe we should increase it to $1,000 fine.
Absolutely, yes. I feel that'd be better, right?
It's a $20 fine for the fire hall.
Well, if you're in a hurry, it's just cost doing business.
I see
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
transports parked right across the entire fire department.
Is that right?
A $20 ticket, they'll just.
Big sign, $1,000.
Well, sorry, Jen, go
All
ahead,
good.
please.
There's also something I noticed very recently, I believe it was today, with regards to the schedule of fees. And that is, we have a building permit section, but there are fees for planning applications, and development applications that are not included on there. They're within we have a bylaw for it. I can't remember. I think it's 1944 or 1945. And it lists out fees, for example, like rezoning applications, changes, amendments to the official plan, etc. That I think just might have been missed when putting them into the schedule of fees, so I did want to mention that council might want to have that also added to the schedule of fees.
I have included those.
Yeah,
I thought I had included those with a notation that said see bylaw number.
No,
no,
no, remember we just. It was one we didn't know about.
Yeah. So Jen and I did discuss this, and this bylaw gets updated annually. And the idea is, I noticed that Hornepayne has a lot of fees written within various bylaws. So it's hard to even know that they're there unless you know to go look for that bylaw. So as we discover these fees, the direction to all staff should be bring it forward to the clerk, to the CAO, to the CFO, and make sure that in the subsequent year, we add it to the user fees. Or the schedule, the comprehensive user fees, so that we have a one-stop place to go for all fees. And in the future, when we update any of those other policies or bylaws, it should just refer payment to the user fees. So rather than have a zoning bylaw that says it's X number of dollars to rezone this property, it should say, for rezoning fees, refer to the comprehensive user fee.
Yeah.
And then that way you're not going and updating 20 or 30 different bylaws every year.
yeah, of course. I agree.
So as we come across those things, so we have included that on our list of things to do as we go through and update bylaws, to watch for those types of things, that were historically there so that they can get addressed going forward.
The planning fees you were referring to, are they not on page 7 or are they something else?
I don't.
There are a lot of, there's site plan
Okay, it was
control
added.
obligation,
Perfect.
official, yeah.
All in green is added.
Okay, perfect. It wasn't on the one that I had. So I missed that. Perfect. Sorry.
Yep, no, that's okay. I might have missed some though, so it's good to double check. But please, I'm sure that there are other bylaws that are buried within our bylaws that I'm not aware of yet. And as we come across those, it's my intention to add them to this schedule and refer back to the original bylaw, so that when we look at these fees, we know, okay, is this the most recent bylaw and have we updated? So,
Okay,
I am not sure, earlier this evening, we talked about the credit cards and I'd like to put even a percentage surcharge for credit cards onto the user fee. If council's so inclined to do that. But I need direction from council.
I think that'd be a good idea. Then you can reference it elsewhere, right? Just refer back to this document. That is my opinion.
So if somebody was to come in and pay for their property taxes, like, say they paid $5,000 in property tax and we get charged a 5% premium for them to using their credit card, even a 2 or 3%
No, I think. it's-
surcharge will cover part of that expense to us.
No, that expense should be entirely covered if you just, everybody does, it, we're the only ones that aren't doing it.
So,
You know, you go to any stores or whatever, there are lots of things like
Charging a
that.
fee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
does everyone agree?
I agree, yeah.
Okay, so
I
add,
think we all agree.
Yep.
Mayor Fort, did you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I just have one question about that.
yeah,
On our online banking system where people can pay their bills, it does allow them to pay debit, right?
it's specifically for credit cards. I don't know if it allows them to pay debit online, but they can do it through their own online banking.
Oh, so they can set it up through their online banking so it gets paid
Yeah.
in? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to ensure that people have a way that if they were used to paying with their credit card and now they're gonna have this extra fee, that they have another way that they can pay it without incurring any fee for themselves or us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's all I have.
That's all you have, yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Did you want to speak a little bit about bylaw number 716? Why they are included?
So, when I first started here, there was some discussion about council wanting to maybe, incorporate business licensing as a user fee. So I went through the bylaws and I found bylaw number 215, which talked a little bit about business licensing, but then referred back to bylaw 7610, which actually did set up the business licensing, and it talks about horses and other just strange things, because this is such an old bylaw. But apparently we do have business licensing, just somewhere along the way, somewhere throughout the years, we just stopped doing it. So we do have an active bylaw that either needs to be repealed or definitely amended. So I think this is on here just as a point of interest to council to say, do you want to amend this and move forward with a licensing bylaw, or do you want to just repeal it and not have any business licensing at all? So it's on here for discussion tonight and just to give us some direction on how to move forward.
I don't know what a hawker means.
It's somebody that comes from out of town to like sell you a vacuum type thing, or someone that comes with a cart wants to sell you pots and pans and like brooms, peddlers and hawkers. Yeah.
Same you do 40 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were gonna skip the next one. I have questions regarding the user
Oh.
fees.
No,
You didn't have the opportunity to
no,
speak.
go ahead, please.
I have a few, since I had this hard copy, I spent numerous hours analyzing it. When you have this all new ones under the green section,
So the green,
how'd you arrive at those numbers? I read all your preamble,
so some
how'd
of
you
them
arrive
are
at-
out of other bylaws, like the
Okay.
planning section.
okay?
Some of them are just based on what peers are doing. So for the cemetery, for example, Jennifer and I looked at several municipalities around us
Okay.
to see what they were charging. I believe it was Manitowoc, Hearst, Marathon.
Yeah, I see.
So, yeah, so it's those types of things. They weren't just random.
Okay,
So
so our fees in relationship to the fees that you compare those municipalities to, where are we at? In the middle? Or are these higher or they're lower than ones that you compare to?
So the new fees that we recommended were an
Yes.
average, and our original fees were, I believe, on the previous page. Or on the left-hand side, in the left-hand column.
Not
On
for
the
the,
slide.
not for the green ones. There's no, that's a new one. So I'm talking about the new ones that you have chosen.
So,
to-
so if you're in, some of them do have, so sorry. Let me go through the green ones here.
Thank you.
Green ones don't.
Let me,
Do not,
yeah, I could probably do this really quickly. So on the first one, things like the integrity commissioner
Mhm.
complaint filing fee, tax extension agreements. The tax extension agreement is what we get charged to do a tax extension agreement. So we're just recuperating our charge. Proposal RFP tender packages. This is a standard rate that I've seen on many. Tax sale tender packages is what we get charged for those tax sale tenders. So we're just reincorporating them. Hawkers, peddlers and salesmen, that was bylaw 215. So that was right out of our own bylaw. Transient trades and business licensing and home business came right out of our bylaw. Council minutes in paper email form and the agenda came out of what other municipalities are doing. The tax water refund credit balance, check and EFT, that was a recommendation from our staff having come back from a conference where they were showing that many municipalities are doing that. Call out fees for runway snow clearing and equipment operator fees. That was a discussion with the public works manager because we get called out numerous times to clear runways and then planes don't even land. So we're using our resources and not getting paid for them because they make a choice not to land, but they've called for us to clear that runway. So really it's our cost. Access to the airport terminal. This was our public works manager. I thought it was a great idea. So what's happening right now is in the evenings, off hours, and maybe even during the day, a plane will land and the pilots will go in, they use our facilities, they warm up, they use our hydro, they charge their phones, use our internet, and we don't charge them anything for that. We know who's coming in because we have a code on the door and it's easy to give them a code and punch in. So every time they land and they're going to go and use that facility, that company gets charged $25. They might have two pilots and a crew member come in, but it's still only $25. Better than nothing that we're collecting now.
Yep.
I thought that was on the books years ago.
We talked
No,
about it in the past.
sorry, I just did something. I'm reading this off my phone and I just lost it.
No, that's okay. I get the drift.
So we did go through, the cemetery, like I said, we compared other municipalities, the planning and the bereavement authority.
Yeah, they provide
Yeah.
sample cemetery price lists, and they were actually the ones who brought it to our attention that our price list was, the way that they put it was really weird. So they provided a lot of information on how to fix it, and then gave some samples. So they don't provide the exact numbers for prices. They give essential like ranges, but it depends on the size of the municipality. So we took their formatting for how they recommend things be priced out and then did a comparison of municipalities in the area.
So I got it back. We added significant fees for contaminated soil. That was based on the fees from surrounding municipalities. And we are waiting for our C of A to be changed. So we're hoping we're confident that's going to happen this year and we'll be able to accept contaminated soil.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We want it. Pardon me, be prepared with pricing. With a lot of construction happening, we can see in the near future that contractor bins will start showing up here. So we wanted to have a way to charge for those in our landfill and to make it clear that those fees go to the township, not to the contractor. So we added those. At the arena, wall signs and board signs for advertisements, we base that also on peer municipalities. So it would be nice to have some local and surrounding businesses, maybe the mines, start advertising on our boards to generate some new revenue. And the registration of death, local, non-local, and interment rights. So I think we just spoke about this. That was the cemetery, as Jen alluded to. And then the highway callouts, those come right from the MTO for the fire. So that's that. That's how we came to those.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
On page 9 of 19, commercial waste tires does not include rims, but there's no per unit fee on it. It's blank.
We get rid.
I might miss that. Okay, sorry. Page 9.
9 of 19, tires does not include rims, and there is no per unit.
You can't charge a dump tire in Ontario. You pay it up front when you buy the tire. You can buy a
Oh,
tire
maybe
here,
that's why
and
there's
dump
no
it,
fee.
and you can dump it anywhere in Ontario.
I was not
Okay.
aware of that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why.
been like that for what, 15 years now.
News to me.
Yeah, it was a good thing. It's the people who put them in the bush.
Yeah.
The other issue is, I like majority of the recommendations on the animal control. We have as big as flaw because we have no bylaw officer.
Yes,
I mean, you could have all the laws in the world, we could charge whatever we choose as council administration, it's nullified. Just so everybody understands that.
so we do have an officer. The downside is that they're in Manitowoc. Yeah, so there's nobody to enforce it, nobody to,
But we're supposed to share them though when they can be on call-ups.
well, he has come here, but
He comes to be reactive, not proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And page 12 of 19 under the arena ice rental. This is my area, wheelhouse. I did this for 35 years, parts of my full time. I think we're overpricing ourselves for the market at $122.59 for a small community. My segue question is, for the year 2025, what was the revenue? That's what I want to see, the budget. I want to see the revenue specifically for the ice rental. I think that would give me,
she can probably tell you.
that would give me, was it used? If it wasn't used, most likely the fee was way too high. I like the spot rentals,
I like that too.
but under $22, I know, I checked a few, areas around, that is high.
But half the price of cities though, and Timmins,
16 years ago, I paid
I understand that, but-
$133 an hour for it.
Timmins is 2.25.
We're in Hornepayne, Peter,
I know.
that's high for an hour.
So is our gym fees and a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
But if the rental is very low, that tells me the people are not using the rental per hour because it's too high. So we overpriced us and, wheels will be empty.
The other thing,
Go ahead. Sorry, Belinda, go ahead.
the other thing I was kind of wondering, I never had a chance to check, but I was wondering when you compare to how the daycare has to charge for pricing, do we kind of compare somehow to that because of subsidy and all that other stuff? Like,
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
like when you talk about summer day camp, whatever, when it comes to how much a day, the daycare has to charge, and then when you hear
So
about.
based on their costs?
Yeah, do we take that into consideration, or would you
We
just
do
pick a sum?
We do this programming with summer students, so I think we have very little cost for a lot of.
Okay, I was just wondering if
Yeah.
we do a comparison.
So the costs in, 2025, the actual costs were for arena user fees, $41,160.
The revenue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I say revenue?
Yeah,
I
you
meant
said
to say
costs.
revenue. Excuse me. User fees. So we budgeted 41,000 for the next few years as well. Just because we anticipate a
And the
similar,
previous year?
similar usage. In 2024, there was 38,678 in revenue for arena user
And
fees.
23,
23 was 35,220.
so it's been going up every year.
Been going up, yeah.
I just want to bring everybody's attention to that. That's my opinion. Yep.
Mayor Ford has her.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Ford, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just, I'm concerned about bylaw 215 and 7610. I did read those today and they are way outdated. I
Yeah.
would be concerned about putting the fee structure on our user fees until we update those. They need to be like the bylaw needs to be updated. I have concerns about privacy issues that are written right in the bylaw. There's quite a few things that are quite outdated. So I just, I want to see the business licensing included on the comprehensive user fees, but at the same time, I'm not sure that, using those fees from that bylaw and putting them in, I don't even want to recognize that bylaw. It's like, it needs to be repealed. I'm just like, first of all, there's all sorts of it that's not even being covered. And, I have to just highlight to council, like, there's a portion of the bylaw where we are requiring a masseuse to give us their client list. Like, that's not allowed. Like, it's just, you know, and so I'm not sure if we like we've talked about moving the budget for adoption a little later. Maybe we do the same thing so we can, I'm not sure how quickly we can do that, but I would like to see business licensing and all of that so we can offer some more services to our businesses. But at the same time, I just don't know if we want to link ourselves to that bylaw.
So
Thank you.
may I make a recommendation that we repeal 7610 and 215 at the March 4th meeting?
I leave it for council discussion. Those are just my thoughts, and
They're all saying yes. And then
Oh,
in April, I'll come back with a report on business licensing.
Sounds fair.
And in the user fee, I can leave business licensing in as a line item and just put under the fee to be determined.
yeah, that sounds great to me, Mr. Chair. I would like to just state there are some really good outdated language, but good policy within the bylaw. Like, I do think that the peddler's permit is, and I like to see that it's 10 times the amount of a business license. I think that's particularly useful for our community because we have seen in the past where, we have our grocery store that services our community 365 days a year and provides things for our community. And then you can have a truck come in and they're targeting a specific market, whereas that would be disallowed now unless they want to pay that higher fee. And I do think there's a service to be added so that when we have our business directory, it's an updated business directory, and the businesses themselves, when they get their license, are putting all the information in. And we are growing. We're seeing more investors looking at Hornepayne. Like, the end of January, we had an investor come and present to us. And I think this is all part of the package to ensure that all of our material is updated annually, and it's systematic. So I love to see a report come in April. Thank you, Manuela. And I just wanted to say that so that people don't think I'm against the business licensing and providing those services. It's more that there's some sketchy language in that current bylaw that I don't want to be attached to. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I for one would like to get back to the April, if you can get it ready
Yep.
for April. Thanks. Okay, any further discussion on bylaws or the user fees?
Mayor Ford has her hand up again.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Ford, go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a discussion on one that we put in was the mobile sign that we have. It's currently out behind the
Yeah.
town hall. I'm just concerned that the amount of cost that we've put to that for someone to utilize it on their property doesn't actually equate to what it would cost us. Because I think we're somewhere, I don't have up, I'm looking at you guys right now, so I don't have up the other screen again, but I think it's somewhere around $60. And that just, like, we're gonna have to have Public Works move it with a truck, put the wording on the sign, and then go pick it up. And that to me sounds like it would be a lot more work and money than what we're recovering. I just wanna, if
Yeah.
flag that, can we look at that and ensure that it's, like, I have no problem if we leave it at the town hall and someone wants to put a happy birthday and they pay for that and it's right at the town hall, that's, we're not moving it, whatever. I have no problem utilizing it in that way of celebrating people's, milestones in our community and that for a smaller fee. But actually moving it to someone's property and that part of the bylaw, I think we need to look at to ensure we're being cost effective there.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Any other questions? No. All right, if we can carry on, if that's the end of the discussion here tonight. Do we need that was just a presentation, so we don't need to motion seconder, right?
Yeah.
All right, if that's it, section 7, we are going to move into closed session for discussion. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Belinda, second by Peter. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 7:37 be closed to the public in order to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by municipality pursuant to sections 239(2)C of the Municipal Act of 2001. All in favor? Carried.
We are live.
Okay, council's returning to open council. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Drago, second by Belinda. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby return to open council at 6:51 PM. All in favor?
7:51.
7:51? What did I say? Sorry, 7:51 PM. All in favor? Carried. Number 8, business arising from closed session. Council directed the CAO to have a purchase agreement to be presented, made up to be presented at an upcoming council meeting. And adjournment. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Peter, second by Belinda. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2190-26, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their special meeting held on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, to be hereby read a first and a second time and considered to be read a third time and finally passed. All in favor? Carried. Next is the adjourn meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Peter and second by Drago. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this special meeting of council held Wednesday, February 18th at 7:53 PM. All in favor? That'd be carried.